video, I'm going to go over multi-time frame analysis. So I'm just going to compare the shorter time frames to the higher time frames. A lot of you may ask, okay, so when do I enter, what time frame, stuff like that. So I'll go over that. So we're always going to look at the higher time frames because it shows the bigger picture and where price is actually headed, and it has so much information in one candle. So for example, the monthly, as you can see, this was a bullish candle. So if we go down to the weekly, it shows like this. Okay, so there's 4 weeks in a month. So this is how the candles would show. For daily, it would be like this. Okay, so you can see all those candles on the daily, all the candles on the weekly. This is what they look like on 1 month. So just one big bullish candle. So that's why we always want to focus on higher time frames, just so we know where price is actually going. Because if you look on the 1 minute, for example, it's every 1 minute candle. So that's not going to tell us anything. So we really want to focus on the higher time frame. So jumping down on the weekly, we're going to mark up our support and resistance zones. So I usually start on the daily, but you can start on the weekly too, and I'll show you the difference. Okay, so we have a support level here. We have a support here. And then we have a resistance level coming up here. Okay, so these are our main zones. And then jumping down on the daily, this is what it would look like. So as you can see, on the daily, it's respecting those zones as well. So let's highlight this area right here. So let's highlight 2 days, okay? So these 2 candles, let's see what they look like on the 30-minute. These are the 30-minute candles. And then on the daily, there are only 2 candles. So you see why you want to look at higher time frame, because for example, for 30 minutes, like it's all over the place. It's super noisy. So price is going down and up and down and up. And when you look on the daily, it's just in a clear uptrend. So that's why you need to look at higher time frames. So for taking entries, that's a different story. So we marked up the zones on the weekly, and now we're going to mark up the zones on the daily. So we have a zone right here, next resistance. And then if price breaks that, retests, and goes to the next resistance, then we can take a buy when we show like a pin bar or a nice wick off this zone, showing that we had a positive retest. Then we can buy and go and take profit at our next resistance. So we could probably take this trade for about, I'd say 50 to 120 pips. But if price wicks like it did over here, respects this zone, price will fall back, retest, and go down. But you notice right here, if we go on the 4 hour, we can draw a trend line. So using this magnet, it'll do it itself, so it'll just go straight up. Okay, so on the 4 hour, you can see what price is doing as well. So we don't want to take an entry on the daily and the weekly just because it's a whole day candle, so we just want to drop down and see where we can take our entries. Let me show you. So this is the daily candle right now. And let's see what it's like on the 4 hour. Okay. So that's why we want to take entries on the lower time frame, but we want to look at the higher time frames to see the strong movement and the strong trends of what's actually going to happen to price. So we have our daily and weekly zones marked up. Price is heading for this resistance. We're just going to see how price reacts. All we're doing is following price, so you don't have to overcomplicate it. You just have to be patient and you have to wait for multiple confirmations. So as you can see here, price tested this resistance, came back down, made a pullback, and it came to this next support. Then it went up, came back down for a pullback, didn't break this level because we have a support right here. Okay, so we have a support right there, and it tried to break this area, rejected, came back up, so on and so on. So this trend line really helped us out because it bounced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like pretty much 6 times and would not break this trend line and went back up. I want to break it down on the 4 hour and the 1 hour because when you look at the monthly, price doesn't look like that. Okay, so the entries are just on the lower time frame just to break it down and see how price is reacting. That's why the monthly and the weekly show the most information in one candle. Because for example, this one previous candle that closed bullish last month, it was 318 pips. So compared to GJ, for example, I just want to show you this. Where is GJ? A GJ candle, for example, for example, this one, it moves 1,000 pips in a month. On the previous candle right here, it moves 661 pips. So there's more volatile currency pairs than USD CAD. GJ is the most volatile, I would have to agree on, but yeah, so that's why you need to break down to other time for the 4 hour and the 1 hour for your entries. So going back to the monthly, we had a bullish close. So we can kind of see that price is trying to reach this resistance. So we want to get an entry on here. So we go down to the weekly. So this is what it looked like, the first month candle, okay? But we want to get an entry now. So we go down to the daily. We could have took an entry here just because it's been respecting that trend line, but we still want to break it down. Okay, so all these areas right here. So price came to a support, respected the support, shot up. This is a resistance level. blew through with a bullish candle, came back down to retest, and continued going up and making pullbacks and impulses. So we could have took a buy right here, right here, right here, and right here. And we could have took another one right here. Okay? So if we would have bought, for example, right here, all the way up, that would have been a nice almost 300 pip move. So that's why swing trading is lit. So I want to just show you something. I want you to write this down. So for 1 week, a 1 week candle has 5 daily candles, 34-hour candles, 121-hour candles, and 480 15-minute candles. So write that down. And then a daily candle has 6 4-hour candles, 24 1-hour candles, and 96 15-minute candles. So this will tell you right here that the higher time frame shows a stronger momentum and stronger zones, and then the 15-minute, the 30-minute, and those zones show, or those time frames show weak zones. So we always want to identify the strong zones and then just break it down on the 4-hour and 1 hour to get our entries and identify new zones. So we can do one more example. Let's do Euro USD. So looking at the monthly, we can mark our zone right here. So we have a nice resistance. What is happening today? There we go. Okay, so we have a nice resistance zone right here. So price was in a downtrend, kind of had some consolidation for a bit, then tried to come back down, tested support, went up, came back down, tested support again, went back up, made a pullback, but we're still in a downtrend on the monthly. And then now I think we will try and hit this level eventually, because we have a nice bearish close right here. So then going on the weekly, we had a nice resistance zone right here. And then a support zone. Right here. Okay, and then the daily. See how that works out perfectly? But then we want to mark our other zones on the daily. So we have one more right here. Okay. So then looking at the lower time frames, okay, so price wants to come back down here again, so we have to see what will happen. So this was a good entry because price came down, tested this, went back up, did a pullback, went back up, and then shot down again. And if we mark up our fibs, lower high to lower low, it rejected right at the 61.8. So when you watch the fib video, I explain how the 61.8 and the 38.2 are perfect for reversals. So when we mark our 1 hour zones, we get a nice rejection right here, which should respect the 61.8. Okay, so you should understand what to do. So look at the monthly, the weekly, and the daily. These are the strongest zones and will show you exactly where price is going. And then we take our entries on the 4 hour. We add more zones in just to make sure. And same with the 1 hour. So I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any other questions, just let me know.